Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live with Fuzia. I am your host, Shilpi Shah, and today we have a very special guest who advocates for no peace without women. Of course, he is Jonathan McDonald. And welcome to Live with Fuzia, Jonathan. How are you feeling in this session today?
I am fantastic. A little scared. This is only my second live, so you'll be holding me to account.
Okay, perfect. So before we dive in today's, session, let me briefly introduce about Fusia. So Fusia is a women-led digital empowerment platform where we work as growth execution partners for founders, coaches, leaders, and entrepreneurs, helping them scale sustainably, combining AI, human expertise, and intelligent systems. At the heart of Fusia is one belief: growth should feel aligned, not exhausting. Now, coming back to today's session, the topic for today is Beyond Ability: Unlocking Human Potential with NLP and AI. And before we move forward, let me give you a brief introduction about Jonathan. So, Jonathan MacDonald is a dyslexic thinker who discovered NLP early in his corporate career and later transformed his insights into a mission within education. After a brain injury led him to volunteer in schools, he recognized how limiting beliefs were shaping children's potential. He chose to reject the traditional idea of ability and spent 7 years conducting over 3,000 experiments, equipping children with NLP tools that dramatically improved their results and engagement. His work about unlocking human potential is beyond labels. So, thank you for being our guest today, Jonathan, and your
Thank
journey.
you.
Your journey and the challenges which I have seen in your bio. I mean, that traditional, these are the, I guess, traditional definitions of intelligence and ability. So,
Yes.
the very first question which is coming your way is: what are your thoughts on large language models and their impact on education?
Okay, so basically, everyone is really excited about these large language models. I use maybe five or six. I've used them to produce images for potency, and it's kind of clever. Basically, what they are is their predictions. So they look at loads and loads and loads of texts and they predict what the next thing's likely to be. And that's how they write sentences. So they're not really intelligent. What they're doing is they're throwing a lot of stuff at the wall and most of it turns out okay, but they know that 25% of AI is hallucination, and we also know that AI is only based on what was previously written. So the large language model has pretty much, so at the moment, it's not great. It's good, but it's not great. But if you're a 5 year old child today going to
Mhm.
school to
Mhm.
learn about the War of the Roses or Henry VIII or anything, that is an utter waste of your time. It's an utter waste of education because remembering words to spit them back for a test can now be done by a computer much, much, much faster.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're going to cross over this, but my message to people in education is this: look, man, I know that you're trapped within the system that you think is the best way. It is not the best way. And hopefully, in our discussion, we can get on to the best way. So, large language models, very good for their own thing. The AI debate is over there. That's not necessarily very good. There's a bubble going to pop. But what it means is that remembering facts is now a waste of brain. And so you want to use your brains to develop the cognitive skills to be creative.
Mhm.
There's a great TED talk by Sir Ken Robinson, and he talks about, do schools kill creativity? And in this talk, he talks to this 5 year old girl, and she's drawing something down, and he goes, "Oh, what are you drawing?" She goes, "I'm drawing God." And he said, "Well, no one knows what God looks like." She goes, "They will in a minute," from a 5 year old.
Mhm.
That is the potential. They can imagine God And yet we travel them down these narrow paths. Remember this, sit still, pay attention, don't muck about, don't have any fun, don't talk to your friends. Yes, we've got playtime, but we've got work time. So the problem is that you end up separating work and play, which is why most people are pretty miserable in their work, because it's not something they enjoy. I'm of the view that you should enjoy your work so that it is fun. Bit of a long answer.
Okay. So maybe it reminds us that ability is not a permanent label and it
No,
evolves and expands. I mean, as belief expands. Wow, perfect.
absolutely.
So, what is, yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, so there's a book written in 1964 called Pygmalion in the Classroom, and it is
Mhm.
especially about this thing about ability. So, just in brief, they took a group of children, a class full of children, gave them to a teacher, said, "Oh, by the way, those few over there, they're special. You can't talk to them differently. You can't give them any extra work, but just so you know." A year later, tested by a separate teacher, the children believed to be gifted produced gifted results. The
Mhm.
unspoken, unconscious beliefs inside an adult's head changes the ability of the child, which is why ability is just it's a farcical statement that no one really questions, but I completely reject it.
Yeah, I mean, this gives us a new belief system that ability expands. So
Yes.
now tell me, what is your message to anyone currently, working within education? I mean, any message for teachers or mentors or maybe leaders?
So, having volunteered in schools for a long time, I know that almost every teacher out there is working as hard as they possibly can. They're incredibly stressed, they're incredibly overworked, they're underappreciated. They've got children who it's not English is not their first language at home, so they don't do their homework with their parent, they don't read with their parent. I saw a story about a woman teacher from a special needs secondary school got assaulted, and so she's given up teaching. 50% of people that qualify with teaching degrees never go into teaching. 50% of the people that do go into teaching leave within 3 years. So I'm not saying anything negative about teachers, teaching, their motivations, their ability, or anything like that. But
Mhm.
it needs to stop.
Mhm.
We should not go on past the end of this week. We should send all the children home and get everyone together and say, we're going to have to look at this completely differently because the world has changed. And you know the funny thing? I found out about ChatGPT from South Park, the cartoon South Park.
Mhm.
And, you know, it just, it's just, it's existential for education. But you see, education is now a business. So I don't think anyone working in education is consciously aware of this. They talk about growth mindset
Okay.
without the slightest awareness that exams and grades and hierarchies are fixed mindset. So they communicate one thing to the children, but then the children look at the actual world and go, well, you're telling me one thing, but that isn't true. And adults, the phrase, they can't see the wood for the trees. That's how stuck education is. My education proposal takes everything and flips it on its head. It's basically a idea called andragogy.
Mhm.
So in normal school, it's called pedagogy, how we teach children.
Okay.
Andragogy is self-directed learning. You take a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, say, what do you want to do? How would you change the world? What are you really passionate about? Okay, let me help you do that. And then all of a sudden, you don't need exams, you don't need harassment, you don't need punitive results from not putting in coursework. The child does because the child wants to. And in a world of large language models, the thing that separates humans from computers is exactly that intrinsic motivation. It comes from within, it is self directed, and you learn what you need to learn to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That
Interesting.
is, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Right.
I mean, we are talking about belief systems which we, develop in our mind. So, if a child is repeatedly told that, he's weak in, particular subject, then that belief can shape his performance more
Does.
than actual capacity, right? This is what you are
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That makes so much of sense. And now, what will be your message to people who are into, policy making? I mean, people working in governments or education. So, do you have any message for them?
I do. So if you're out there in the Department of Education in the UK, or frankly any country other than North America, my original proposal, this is called potency.world, and it was designed for girl children to change the balance of women. So young girls face a massive drop in confidence as they go into secondary school, and girls do worse in mixed sex, mixed gender environments. So the proposal was to build this school for girls. That was before the large language models. This proposal is about educating. It's about, as I just said, this self directed learning. There are no teachers, there are only mentors and coaches. So if you're in education, reach out to me on LinkedIn. My email is CEO at potency, POTNECY.world, because we can have a discussion about how my idea makes absolute sense, has so much scientific rigor behind it, and is completely easy to implement if you have the vision, which is what I do, and you reach out to me. We could change things next week, not
Oh,
next year or 5 years or 10 years, now, right
wow.
now.
Wow. We need people like you who say things like this, that we can change everything now. Wonderful, perfect. And thank you so much, Jonathan, for such
Thank
an
you.
insightful and courageous, conversation. And this discussion, reminded us that ability is not a permanent label, and it evolves, it expands, and when belief expands, of course. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone who is watching out there. At Fugia, we believe that when technology is used with intention, growth becomes inclusive. To everyone who joined us live, thank you so much for your time and presence. Thank you, Jonathan. If you
Thank you,
want,
Shilpi.
yeah. So anyone who is watching, if you want to be our guest, DM us or comment below, and we will reach out to you. Thank you so much for your time. Bye bye. Take care.